Joining me as always is Mark.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right, so as you probably figured out by now, from the lovely review from the now dead and gone Siskel and Ebert during the opening of the show, we are talking about Friday the 13th, A New Beginning this episode.
Yes, we are. Friday the 13th, part 5. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's weird that you say that they're both gone. Yeah, I guess, yeah, Siskel was gone first and Ebert, what, just 2 years ago or something like that? 3 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, with him, it wasn't too long ago. Um,
Yeah. Well, they do hate horror movies for the most part, but they did love, or they gave a high review for my favorite horror movie of all times, which would be John Carpenter's Halloween. So. I love that they liked that movie, or at least gave it good props. But yeah, they totally hated the Jason films.
yeah, as they made blatantly obvious in their
Oh yeah.
in their review. Um,
Yep.
the with this movie, so it starts off with Tommy having this flashback to when he was younger, shortly after the events in 4 took place. And then I believe that this movie was supposed to take place like 6 years or something afterwards. Um, then so the flashback happens, and then really the movie starts with Tommy being driven to this mental, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah,
halfway
it's like
house.
a halfway house. Yeah.
Yeah, in Pinehurst, out in
Yep.
the middle of nowhere. And the one of the very interesting things in this movie is, aside from part one, um, the first kill in this movie is not done by Jason. It's actually done by
That's right. Yeah,
Vic.
you're right. Which that is a very, very interesting. Well, okay, let's I did say that this is one of my favorite movies in the Friday the 13th series. Now, I have to say and preface that by saying that does not necessarily mean that there's good acting, good writing, good storytelling in this story, in this movie. Because why they, if, okay, now, I work in mental health. I do it part-time. Hopefully, I'll eventually be doing it full-time. But the idea of giving somebody who is extremely disturbed, has anger issues, an axe to go chop wood in the field. That is beyond the pale. That is something that would never happen in real life.
We got to remember though, this is a halfway house, and these guys are at the halfway house to prepare them for their re-entry into society.
That is true. Yeah, so he should have been more together at this point, I guess. But still, I don't know. I could see some major liability issues there. Okay, you're gonna give. Okay, so we got this halfway house. Here's this guy who's.
Oh wait, hold on. You ready for this?
Let's do it.
All right, because you had said Jason is dead.
Jason Voorhees is dead. His body was cremated. He's nothing but a handful of ash.
Yes, he is. That's a great scene too. Doesn't he like pour a ashtray down or something? Like
Yeah,
pour ashes.
he pours the ash into his hands. Uh, yeah, I have a whole bunch of sound bits here, and I don't have them all ready to go on the fly.
I want this loony bin closed down.
There's Ethel.
Ethel. So the one thing, before we get too off track, with the one thing that I did notice when I watched this movie last week in preparation for this episode was the fact that Ethel, who was played by Carol Locatel, and Pam, who was played by Melanie Kinnaman,
Hmm.
those two characters at the time of this being filmed, which was probably filmed in I don't remember the release date. So I mean, it was filmed shortly before it came out, and those two women, when I was watching this, I was like, oh, you know what? Ethel's kind of cute, even though she's a little dirty, and Pam's hot.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, Pam's one of the hottest Friday girls by far.
oh yeah,
My
and as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, damn, I'm getting old. I'm sitting here drooling over the two mom figures in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Pam was
dildo.
there's Ethel. Yeah, that's I think pretty much everything Ethel says is, an F word or yeah, she F bombs the sheriff.
Would
F
you
bomb.
shut the fuck up?
Yep, there she is. And then Junior, yeah, the one question too I have to ask too when we go back into like bad writing though is why? Okay, so Ethel and Junior are straight out of like West Virginia. How come nobody else has that accent? Is this like a secret little corner of this town, or somewhere behind the halfway house where, like the hill people live or something? I never quite understood that because everybody else is kind of, basically got the, they're not sporting any southern drawls or accents.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that they never really stated in the movie where, even though they do say it's at Pinehurst, but they never really said where that's at in conjunction with, I mean, that's one of the things that I always wondered about this movie was when, whatever their faces were, the two kids that were screwing, if they would run into the woods and then rather ending up on Ethel and Junior's land, if they would run the other way like a half a mile, would they end up in Camp Crystal Lake or would they?
I think I remember them saying it was a couple counties away from Crystal Lake.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
So, and speaking of Ethel and Junior's land, this is now this movie I think if I'm not mistaken has like a high body count. So they were basically just killing everybody that showed up on the screen. Um, Now there's one character, and I mean, literally, you know how like Friday movies usually they give you a little bit of background on the characters before they off them. But by the time Part 5 came out, they were pretty much just putting people on the screen just to off them. Like you had the two guys from the Greaser 50 guys. I don't know where they came from. Maybe like some sort of Grease
Oh
audition
yeah,
or
the guys on
something.
the side of the road. Yeah.
Yeah. So you had those two guys who you didn't meet before and you don't meet after. They just get killed. They get whacked. And then but the guy, the weirdest guy of the entire movie as to why he even existed and why he was even put in the film was the homeless guy who goes to Ethel's house looking for work. And she says if he goes and cleans out the chicken coop, she'll give him some soup. And then so he just goes there, and then he's like peeking at the two kids, and then he gets offed, and that's his whole character. That's it. So basically, someone had when they did the casting for that, somebody had to actually literally audition for, okay, you're going to be the homeless guy who needs a job cleaning shit out of a chicken coop, and you're going to get killed right after you get the job. I mean, that's it. That's that whole character. That's it. And then he's gone.
Yeah, and then you have the couple at the diner that get killed for just being
Yep.
there,
Right.
which in a normal Jason movie, anything other than Part 5 and Part 1, I guess you would possibly expect that, like, oh, you got in the way of Jason. But with this particular movie, yeah, like you said, it kind of doesn't really make any sense at all.
Right. 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 Yeah, and then you had the cat scare in that scene too, the classic horror movie cat scare where somebody on the set throws a cat at the actor or
That
actress.
scene is hilarious. Like when I was watching that movie the other day too, I mean, I knew about that scene anyway, but if you have never seen this movie, you need to watch this movie specifically for that, unless you're a cat lover. But it seriously looks like somebody like had a cat in their hand and fastball pitched it at this booth because the cat like smacks into the side and like jumps off
Right.
and runs away. It's
Right.
hilarious.
Yeah, the classic cat scene. And then let's see who else gets killed in this movie. Who doesn't? Well, Junior and Ethel, they barely have a role. They both get it. Um, oh, we're missing the demon and his girlfriend.
Yep, they got it.
The
But
shitter scene.
those characters were kind of explained a little bit. I mean,
Right.
Reggie's this younger. I mean, he's like probably supposed to be like 10 or 11 or something in the movie. And his grandfather works at the halfway house, and his big brother's coming into town, and he wants to go see him. My favorite part about that whole situation is his big brother's coming into town, and he wants to go see him, and his big brother, who is Demon, and his girlfriend, they are in a van, and they're just like parked on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And they go find them and see them, which I kept thinking, like, now as I watched, I'm like, well, if they were coming to town, why didn't they just come to the damn halfway house and meet up with them?
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Now, you brought up Demon and his girlfriend. So this murder scene is my favorite scene of this movie. One of my favorite scenes of the entire Friday the 13th series is when Demon is taking a shit in this crapper, which is a aluminum freaking shit box.
Yeah.
And he's in there like pushing out this, what is it, enchilada. Oh, the enchilada's killing me. And his girlfriend comes up to the outside of the crapper and like tries to scare him, and then they sing a duet.
Yeah. Yeah. Why that is put in there, I mean that
It is the most funny thing. I remember when I was a kid, probably, I mean, not when this movie came out, but probably like 25 years ago or something, like in 90 or 89 or something. Me and one of my cousins, we had seen this movie, and I can't remember if we watched it together or if we seen it separately, but we would do that to like each other. Like we'd be like we'd be at wherever, like grandma or grandpa's house or something, and one of us would be in the bathroom. Wouldn't even be like taking a shit, but one of us would be in the bathroom and the other one would run up to the door and be like, "Ooh, baby, ooh, baby."
That's excellent. Yeah, that's a very wonderful scene. It's so funny too because like, when you watch this movie as a kid, you just kind of accept it. It's like, yeah, that's just, hey, they're adults. They know what they're doing. This must mean this is
They're singing
what
to
must
each
be
other.
what they do. But then when you look back and you think about it, and now this scene is pretty much a classic Friday scene. You think to yourself, okay, so what were they smoking the day that they were filming this scene?
Oh, jeez.
But it's funny too, and I just had recently heard this, that the guy who wrote Friday the 13th Part 3 actually wrote this movie. And also in that movie in Part 3 there was an outhouse scene. So he must have a thing for outhouses.
It probably does.
Yeah, must be one of those I don't know. They must have got him just for that, knowing that he was good with. They might have had an outhouse sitting on the set, and like, hey, we got to call so and so. Oh, and speaking of another correlation between the two, the barn scene at the end of this film is the same barn from Part 3. So that's kind of a cool little bit of trivia.
Yep, I knew that. So this movie is pretty much, for the most part, pretty much the standard Friday the 13th movie, except for the one thing is they are pretty animate throughout the entire movie that Jason is dead. And the one thing, too, that I noticed when I was watching this the other day that I don't think I really picked up on before was the fact that you don't necessarily see the hockey mask too much throughout the movie.
Right.
And the other thing, like we were kind of alluding to earlier, was that the Tommy Jarvis character in this movie is really, except for a few scenes, really isn't around too much. So you are led to believe that, okay, so Jason is dead and Tommy is severely fucked up. So maybe he's the killer, but we're not sure.
There's a few suspects in this film, and they're kind of funny when you think back to them.
Right.
Probably the one that like I kind of giggle at, and I don't know if they were. I think they were. I mean, I think anybody would kind of think about it, and you can't imagine it being this. But one of the suspects, if the way they kind of play it out, just as you know, you're looking like who could it be? It could be any of these people. Was Gramps, Reggie the Reckless's grandpa, the cook at the halfway house. Now, obviously, he, you know, being an older guy, it's hard to imagine he'd be doing this. But so he was a suspect. Tommy was probably the key suspect because he was constantly seeing images of Jason, and then, but then the one should we just go ahead and give away the spoiler?
Yeah, spoiler alert.
The killer in this film happens to be the ambulance driver who
Roy.
goes. Okay, so Joey, the guy who gets hacked up by Vic, the guy with anger issues, who they give an axe to at the insane asylum or the halfway house, chops him up. You know, gets angry at him, chops him up, and so the ambulance guy comes. Now here's the part. Now here's the biggest problem I have with the writing of this film. Now again, I want to go back and say I love this film as a Friday the 13th movie. This is a really good one in my opinion. I don't know why I say that, but I don't know, something about this. I just like it. It's just classic slasher film across the board. But here's one of the biggest problems though. Okay, so the EMT is the guy who, because his son was murdered, he goes kind of nutty and he puts on the Jason mask and even goes so far to get a bald piece to put on underneath it. So he really wants everybody to think he's Jason. So he goes around and he kills everybody that he comes in contact with. But the only person he doesn't kill is the person that's responsible for the murder of his son to begin with. So kind of strange writing there. Why he didn't go for that guy, but hey. But I did, one thing I did like about this movie too was the hockey mask. Like, it's basically the same thing except it's got the blue chevrons on the side as opposed to the red ones, and so it had that kind of it was a cool look. And they really kind of, because they show every time Jason pops up in one of Tommy's dreams, it's the original looking Jason, right, with the red chevrons and the bloody axe cut on the head, and so they're definitely, showing you, okay, this is Jason, but now here's a guy with, the mask is different. So this is somebody else. And so you kind of know that as soon as you see it, that this isn't the same guy. This is this is a copycat. And it also turns into, this is also another way of describing this movie is this is the Scooby-Doo of Friday the 13th films.
Yeah, because there's, well, if you know what's happening in the movie and then you go back and you watch it, when the ambulance comes at the beginning of the movie to pick up Joey's body, and Roy looks up and there's anger in his eyes for that 1 second. Yeah. But he is really never in the movie any other time. The only other part of the movie that there is any inkling that Roy is around is towards the end when they're running through the woods and they come across the ambulance and they open the ambulance door and the other paramedic is in the ambulance dead and he falls out, but that's it. So I mean there's no and until, like you had said, until the very end of the movie when you're like, oh, that's Roy. Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's because Joey was his son.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and the funny thing too is like when he falls, like he's hanging out of the barn, and he falls onto this like these spikes, and the mask comes off. Like when you first see that, like him sitting there with the mask off because he's got like a bald piece on, you're like looking at him like you're like, who the hell is that? And then like at the next scene, like they're in a hospital and then they're explaining it to you, oh, that's the EMT guy, and he that happened to be his son. Like, oh, okay.
same as always. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to tell everybody you love, everybody you hate, anybody you know that's a horror fan, to be sure to tune in and listen to these two buffoons talk about horror movies. Even though we are not professionals, we have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, but we've been doing this since we were 12, so
Yeah, and
that gives us some sort of credit.
always be sure to tell everybody that we give away the entire movie, even though we don't really talk about the movie, but we somehow manage to give it away.
Yeah, you will not walk into this movie surprised at all if you listen to this.
All right, thanks everybody. Tune in 2 more weeks. We'll have another movie for you. Not another Friday the 13th movie, but a different one for sure.
Cool.